year since I started content writing, and with that, I also learned SEO because I figured that SEO is really essential if you are trying to write content, especially for website, web content, blogs, for WordPress and all. That gives you a little bit edge and gives you more power as a content writer, because now you know how to actually write content which will be useful for SEO also. So in that way, you are doing a two-person job at single time. So I saw this benefit. So I started learning more and more about SEO, on-page SEO, off-page SEO, technical WordPress, and all. And now it's been over a year. So now I take projects mostly which are client's website based on WordPress. So I take up the content, I create content calendar and all, do the keyword research on page SEO, and then optimize it and then publish it on WordPress. As a freelancer, I'm offering these services, mainly SEO and content writing. Yeah, that's it. All right. So in today's session, we will be discussing about on-page SEO, of course. So in there are some there are three types of SEO: technical and off-page is there. But today we are only talking about on-page SEO since it's one of the easiest to master. But if you are willing to learn small things, because there are so many small things in on page SEO, but hopefully by the end of this session, you will be at least able to scale from here. After this session, you will be able to kind of practice and master your craft in few days. I can promise you that. So listen carefully. And yes, so we will be discussing about what is on-page SEO and WordPress, what are the plugins to use for SEO optimization, what is on-page SEO for content in general, and then we will be actually talking about how do you optimize it, like title tags, there are internal, external links, there are images that you need to optimize, URLs, meta description, and then actually using the plugins and checking if our SEO is done right or wrong, and then maybe editing it afterwards. All right. So starting with our first heading, that is what is on-page SEO for WordPress. So actually, these are two different things. We have written it in one single heading, so to make it look easy. But I'll tell that what is on-page SEO, what is WordPress and SEO, and I'll also tell how to make sense out of it. So you must already know what is on-page SEO. But if you don't, on-page SEO is simply when you do the SEO for a particular page. Let's say that you have a blog and you want to optimize it in such a fashion that it ranks on Google search engine, or whatever search engine or place you're looking to rank in. So that is on page SEO. For that we use different tactics. There are things that we gonna discuss. There are things that I already mentioned, right? So that is your on page SEO. After that, WordPress comes. So where does that WordPress comes? Because there is on page SEO. We have been doing it for a since a really long time. But why WordPress is popping up everywhere since few years ago? So WordPress is nothing but a seamless content management system. There are many ways through which you can handle a website. WordPress is one of them. Once you buy your domain and host it, then you need to decide what will be the platform or content management system where you're going to operate your website in the backend, right? So in that way, WordPress comes into the picture. But why WordPress only? Because there are many other options other than WordPress. Um, so why do we choose WordPress only, right? So WordPress, what it does, it generally makes you easier to optimize your content. It's easy. There are so many plugins for you to use, which are free mostly, and it's easy to operate because a person who has non-technical background can easily, work it out. Anyway, so that is your on-page WordPress SEO. Now talking about the plugins, why plugins is important, right? So there are so many plugins, but two main plugins that we are going to cover here is Yoast SEO and RankMan. So both of these plugins are SEO plugins. What they do is, for example, all the things I have already mentioned here, like what are the things you need to look, internal links, external links, tags, and all. So what these plugins do is they make your work really simple. They will kind of provide you that these are the things you need to be looking, and they give you live optimization that you need to be doing these things. Suggestion, there are suggestions, and there are checklist for images, for tags, for everything you can almost imagine. So if you are working on these plugins, you don't have to have mastery in SEO. Just by looking at these plugins, you will be more than better. You will be able to optimize your page successfully. All right. So these the two most popular plugins are Yoast SEO and RankMath SEO. Yoast, there are some people who prefer RankMath. There are some people who prefer Yoast SEO. It depends on you mostly. I'll be talking about Yoast SEO more here because most people prefer it. All right. So this is about plugins. Moving on to other to writing SEO optimized content. All right. So I hope you have been, this was general stuff. I hope you already know that. If you don't, that will give you a good idea that what we are talking about, or what we'll cover about. All right. Now that we know about SEO and WordPress, how do you actually optimize your content at the time of writing? Right, at the time of writing, and what do you do after writing? So there are some parts that you need to check before you write, and then when you place your content on WordPress, so that your works becomes easier. So the checklist goes like, there is keyword placement, there is title tag, internal external links, images, URLs, meta tags, and so on. I'll be talking about rest of these things in later, but let me talk about keyword placement first. So keyword placement is nothing new. Actually, it's one of the oldest practice in SEO, but people do used to do it differently. Now it has changed a lot. Now your content needs to have certain your targeted keyword in your content, of course, but it's not that major issue. For example, if you have written a blog which is around 1000 or 1500 words, it's going to depend on keyword density. So for example, if you have used 4 or 5 times your target keyword in a 1000 word of blogs, that would be a fine density. You can go even more than that. You can use 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 keywords in your 1000 article, but make sure that it's organic, make sure that it sounds natural. You don't want to offend your readers, that they are reading the same target keywords in every place, even if it's not suitable. So make sure that it's naturally placed, and use it in each subheadings. Try to use under each subheadings. Try to divide it so that it falls naturally in each section. Don't overdo it, don't do it unnaturally. All right. Now we can talk about the rest of the things under on page SEO. All right. So keyword placement is something which you need to be aware while writing your content. Once you have done that, now you're going to optimize the other elements. For example, let's say that you are done with writing keyword placement, and now you have checked all the grammar and all. Now you have inserted your content on WordPress, like right. So now you need to see other elements. So the first element you can start with. I mean, this is the checklist that you can follow, but it's not mandatory that you will follow exact same routine. So let's start with title tag. Title tag is nothing but the heading that you see on any article. For example, sorry. So, for example, in this slide, as you can see, optimize your title tag. So this is like the on title tag. Title tag is very important when you're writing a blog post for several reasons. For example, when you will open an article on the Google searches, you will see the title tag, and based on that title tags, you might decide that whether you are interested in opening that or not. So that can totally change games many times. So there are so many tactics for writing a nice optimized article. Sorry, title tag, and those are not very hard to master. So for example, one of the things that I've seen that people don't do is that they will write title tag and try to put their keyword forcefully in their title tag. So you must have already know that you need to put your title tag in your your targeted keyword in your title tag, but sometimes due to grammar it doesn't go naturally. So what can you do? You can actually change the grammar. For example, if you need to include ing, you can do that. Change a bit in your title tag, it doesn't matter, but make sure that you use your target keyword in your title tag. It's really important. For example, let's say that your target keyword was optimize. So in this title tag, optimize your title tag, we have used that targeted keyword successfully. All right, I'll be showing more examples later um, for this. Talking about more title tags. Um, all right, so the other major advice I would like to give is that make it shorter, meaning 55 to 60 characters long only. Don't write a long title tag because it gets cut in the Google search result. So if you have written a really long title tag, for example, optimize your title tag for on-page SEO with me plus with 13 examples, right? That sounds too long. It's not under 55 or 50, 60 characters. So make it shorter so that whenever someone searches your article in Google, they will be able to read the full title tag. So these are all the tips you need to be looking while writing optimized title tag. All right, moving on. Um, Optimize URL. What do I mean by optimizing URL? So for example, for each blog that you create, for example, let's say that there's a blog called how to optimize your blogs with 13 examples, right? So this is going to be your URL, but there are two parts of the URL. First, your site name will be displayed, then your slug will be displayed. So slug would be the name of your blog, and your name of that your website will be there also. So you cannot edit your website's name, of course, but you can edit the slug, meaning the URL after your website. So whenever you are putting a new article in Yoast SEO, you will get an option like edit slug. In that, you need to make your URLs short. For example, as we have said that how to optimize your title tag with 13 example, you can remove the part 13 example and only write how to optimize on page SEO. Always keep in mind that writing a shorter URL helps the user to understand what this page is about, but making it too long makes the user confused. So writing short URL is always going to help. For example, in this slide, as you can see, if you run a blog about men's shirt, there are two types of URL that you might get. First will be that www.mensshirt.com/blog221457. So the part after slash, like the part where it says blog 221457, this part is called slug. You can always edit it. So so let's say that you have given this part, let's say that you have given this part already, so you can actually edit it in your plugins. So the better URL slug would be trending dash white dash shirts. Always use dashes to separate your words in URLs, because that's what Google is able to read. The robots cannot read other signs like underscore. So make sure that you use, I mean, they can use, but the best way to separate your words, your URL, is to use a dash. All right. There is a small tip I have mentioned here. Um, yeah, including your keyword. So most of the time when you are writing your uh, URL slug, your keyword will be included in that also. It will predict based on your title tag. But if it's not adding, make sure that you have your title tag in your slug. Make it short, make it crisp and easy to read. All right, that was about optimizing URLs. You can also note down your questions if you are having in betweens. We'll be answering that later after we finish with that. All right. Another really important part: internal and external links. There are so many things we can about which we can talk about. But there are some basic things which you must know before optimizing it for internal and external links. So if somebody don't know what internal or external link is, the internal link is something when you mention your own pages. For example, if you are writing about a blog on an on page SEO. If you already have a page about on page SEO, off page SEO, you can mention that as well. So that will create a good internal links. Uh, the external link is just opposite. When you link someone else's page in your content, that goes for external links. But why external link is important? For example, we understand that internal link is important because it's creating a nice site structure, and a user is going to spend a lot of time on your websites, right? And there are many benefits other also, like they might convert, they might see a CTA, and they might become a customer or anything. But there are some benefits of external link also. For example, if you have used good resources for external links, a website which have high domain authority, website which are genuine, and website which has published content which is not very old. So it creates kind of trust between the readers that these people understand what they are doing, and they are putting the links which are actually useful, and which is creating kind of trust between the user and between the site. So whenever a reader finds some good links, he will come back to make sense on your website. But there are some things that you need to be make sure before putting an external link, because your user might not come back, right? So make sure that you always open your new link on the new tab. So there is always one option when you are putting external link on WordPress that will ask you whether you want to open this tab or this link on the new tab. Always make sure that it is switched on. Make your external link open on the new tab, and tag the relevant content. Make sure it's new. Make sure it's coming from high authority website. All right, that was external and internal and external links. Now we're going to talk about optimizing your images. All right, images is again one major part of on-page SEO. Why? Because images also ranks on Google. If you search something, there is an option called images. So if you have done your SEO right, you might see your images also rank. What does that do? It can simply create more traffic on your pages. So if you have your images showing on Google search, the user might click on the images and they will go back to your website, right? So free traffic, good and all, don't have to do a lot about it. um, all right, what about the internal opening in a new tab? Yeah, I always open the internal links on the new tab also. That's a good practice. All right, coming back to the optimizing your images. um, So there are three things that you must do with your images every single time. First thing is compressing your images. What does that mean? Is simply making the size of your images smaller while not losing the quality of it. So the simple way of doing is that compressing your images. There are multiple websites for compressing your images. Just search for compress images, and the top one or two will be good enough. There you can compress your images. There are many plugins for that also, which will automatically do the task for you. These are free and paid also, depends on how much work you want to pull out. This is bad for showing the space. But why do we need to compress your images, right? For example, if you are thinking that I'll not compress this time, it's just taking too much of my time, or plugins is not working. But it's going to be, big problem for SEO. Why? Because page speed is going to take a lot of time, since images are going to be the largest file, because most of the content will be in the text form. So your pages will take a lot of time to open. So make sure that you optimize your images, because page speed is one ranking factor for your rankings in the search. All right. Moving on with the second subheading, after compressing your images, you need to rename your images. So I've seen that many people don't actually rename their images. Um, I don't know. I think most of the people are not aware about this, but here you go. I'm going to tell you about how do you rename your images. So whenever you download your images, there are going to be some default name like 5 img 58455, or screenshot 20211, anything, just random numbers. That's not going to be helpful. What you need to actually rename your images by going and choosing the rename option. When you are renaming your images, make sure that you are putting your keyword also. Most of the time what I do is that I'll use my title tag as for renaming your images also, right? You might not include examples and did you know that, but you must include your keyword and make sure that it's making sense when you are renaming your images. Make it useful, make it descriptive. Don't use a lot of keyword, just use it at once, and always use dashes to separate your name, just like we did in the URL part. For example, if if you are putting a picture of a cat, you can use it like cute dash Persian dash cat dash sleeping. Whatever describes your images. Don't go into much depth. Try to use your keyword always. All right. So that's your renaming images for you. The third part is for optimizing your images is alt tag. What alt tag is? First of all, alt tag is nothing but it's a name for your images on the internet. For example, if someone opens your website and the image doesn't actually load, right? It got crashed for whatever reason, and the user now wants to know what this picture was about. So if you have given the name of the picture, that name will be displayed here. For example, just the example of the cat we took for renaming your images, same can be done for the alt tag also. The other major thing about alt tag is that when a reader who has vision problem, where the tablet or the software reads the content for them, in that case the user might not able to read, and when the software will try to read the images, if it's not done, it will go blank. So Google suggests you to always put an alt tag on your images. It's good for the SEO, it's good for the images, it's good for the SEO, of course. um, all right, so there are some suggestion which even Google tells you about that. So for example, don't mention alt tag as image of or picture of. Just tell what the image is. If it's a black cat, tell that black cat. If it's a black cat of certain breed, mention that, but don't write image of because it's already an image. Be descriptive, keep it simple, keep it short. Again, don't put a lot of keywords into it, but always put your keyword into alt tags. All right, moving on. So we have covered the um, three parts of the image optimization. So for example, for the alt tag, if you didn't understand, here's a good example for writing a nice alt tag. So the fine would be cat, uh, just cat, right? The better would be cat sleeping. Of course, in the picture we can see the sleeping cat, but the best one with description and with your keyword would be cat sleeping on a chair, right? So if someone sees this image broken on a web page, and if they can see the alt tag, they would perfectly understand that what this image was about. All right, so this was all about your image optimization. um, Coming to the meta description, and do note that all these things, you have to do on the WordPress while you are putting your content. All right, optimizing meta description. Meta description is something which you will see under your title. For example, if you have searched a query, there would be small text under your title that will tell the what this page is about. One thing I would like to clear about meta description is that it has nothing directly to do with the SEO part. For example, it's not a ranking factor directly. Like if you have written a really nice meta description, it's not going to give you better ranking. But again, it's still important. Why? There are several reasons. Like first thing is click through rate. Why this matters? So if you have written a nice meta description and that you will read before opening your link to a certain page, it will help you decide that whether this content you are looking for, or it gives a short summary that what to expect from this page. So it gives you nice idea, and users sometimes might click on your page depending on the meta description. So there are some rules while writing meta description. Actually, there are no certain rules, but best practices. I won't lie to you. So these best practices are keeping it short. Again, making it under it's misrepresented here. It's actually 155 or 160 characters long. What is it does the same thing with the title tag. 155 or 160 characters shows fully on your pages. If you will increase the size, it will not fully show a display. So make sure it's under 150 or 160 character. Include your keyword also here. So one thing you will find common in most of the thing is that we are including our keywords in all the tags and descriptions, right? Another thing is that keeping the search intent in mind, that make sure that you are writing a sort of summary which explains your content. Don't write something which is not relatable when people read your content or write about it. Mention USPs of your article or blog, for example, what you can expect, what you can gain. Again, it's 155 or 160 characters short, but be creative about it. Make it short, make it crisp, make it relatable. Yeah, so those are the things when you are writing meta description. All right, so you have covered. Actually, this image is kind of blurry. Yeah, Arshita, I was also checking it previously and was quite clear. All right, so I'll explain it. No worries. What happens when you are done with all the things on using your plugins, right? Use any plugins, use it, Yoast SEO, use rank math, any of these things. What these plugins will do is that they will check your these best practices, that whether you have included internal link or external link, whether your meta description is written in the right manner, better whether you have used enough keywords, whether your title tag is accurate, if it contains your targeted keyword or not, whether it is good when reading, whether the alt tag is included, and all these small things. Um, yes, can you are you guys able to see it now? Actually, it's kind of blurry, so zooming it out is not going to help. But it's guys, it's not something that you won't understand. It's just the summary that these plugins will give you, just a reminder that have you checked this. And many times there are certain things which these plugins will suggest you, but they are not true. For example, in rank math, it will suggest you to always use number in your title tag, but it's not accurate, right? You cannot use numbers in your title tag if it's not something relatable. So the first thing you need to do is that optimize on-page SEO based on the factors I've told you, because the plugins will suggest you the same things, whether your content is different or same. So don't completely depend on them, but always make check these plugins so that you don't forget something. For example, sometimes I would forget to edit the slug, the part after the website's name, right? So I can always go onto the Yoast SEO or any plugins, and I will edit the edit my link, and if all the things are done and ready to publish, right? So if you are done with all these things, you can actually go ahead and publish your blogs, right? So if you are done with the optimization, if you are done with the on-page SEO, with the title tags, checking all these tags and all, you can actually go ahead and publish your content, and that would complete your everything. I mean, if you are done with these things, you have done a wonderful job for optimizing your on-page SEO. Now you can be hopeful that in future your content actually gets ranked. So because we cannot show the whole screen, we can actually show you the back end of how WordPress looks like, where uh, where you can create a new post. So this one actually, again, it's kind of blurry, but the backend is very simple to use. For example, the green part which you see has some scores which your plugins will give you based on how optimize your content is. Again, if it's 70, 80, or 85, it's good. If it's below that, you need to do more work, and it's not needed to be 100% always, because because the same thing I've told you, you should always optimize it based on what you think is right. Study it, research it. Don't always depend on the plugins, but always see what they have to say. All right. So I think we are done with the on-page SEO. I think we have covered everything from writing to optimization. Um, Now, Harshita, I think we can go ahead with the Q&A part, where we can answer the queries people have been asking in the chat section. All right, so there is no definite rule. Neither Google says anything on that, but there are some best practices which SEO experts will tell you, which I'll also tell you. So the best thing, and these plugins will also tell you the same things. First thing first, make it natural. Don't overdo it. So so there is this keyword density rule, which says, I think, 5% or 10% keyword in your content. But again, it's something that not most of people agree. So what I would suggest is that, for example, if you are writing 1000 a long post, what you can do is try to include at least four or five keyword under your content. How you can use it? For example, if you have written four subheadings in your content, put try to put your target keyword under each subheadings, right? And divide it equally, so that Google understands that you are not overdoing it. It falls naturally. Same thing, if you are writing a bigger content, try to look it naturally. Try to place your keyword in your subheadings between your content, and divide it in each part. So for example, under a Yoast SEO, if you have actually used two or three times the target keyword in your first subheadings, and you haven't used any keyword in your second subheading, so the Yoast SEO will actually suggest you that please use one more keyword in your second subheadings also. So try to divide your subheadings equally, so that the flow is natural in your content. All right. All right, Mukund. So Yoast SEO, you also get the free version, and there is paid version also. In free version, there are not lots of option, and in the paid version, it will show you the live update of what you have been doing and what are and every small things that you can check. But if you have little knowledge, I mean, sorry, not little knowledge, but if you have like general knowledge about SEO, like all the things we have mentioned here, you actually don't need the paid version. You can check all these things because you already know how to optimize meta tags and all. You can always go ahead with the free version. And again, so this is about Yoast SEO. But if you want to use all the features for free, you can always use rank math. Rank math is certain is kind of new from Yoast SEO, but it provides a lot more services than Yoast SEO, even with a free version, and a lot of people recommend it. I also use it on my personal websites. It's totally amazing. And if you are looking for a free one, I would suggest that you can go with rank math. Hope that answers Mukul. No, that was the paid version. So I don't remember everything, but let's say that the free version will not give you option of all the things that were mentioned in the paid one. Just like the premium products work. For writing blogs. All right, so there are two questions. All right, Drashti, is it? Anyway, yeah. So it totally depends on you. So it will depend on the practices of yours. So when I used to write blogs 1 year ago, it would take me 1 day or 2 days sometime for writing and publishing it. Now it takes me sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes more than that. But I think I have even written and published a blog under 2 hours of time. So it totally depends on your practices and the methods you are using. For example, if the content requires you to do a lot of research and you are including that on the same time period, then it will surely take you a lot of time to write. And once if for and let's say that your content doesn't demand a lot of research and you have started writing it and you have also practice of SEO, then it will take you fairly less time. So maybe 3 hours, 5 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, depends with whom we are talking about. Second question of yours says that if you are only starting out, we won't have many internal links. It will impact gaining traction. No, actually, it doesn't impact you. So actually, when you are writing your blogs initially, during the initial time, the Google will not even actually when you are writing blog, give it at least 8 or 10 or 12 months to see if your keywords are ranking or not. So don't worry if you don't have internal links initially. Make it 5 or 7 or 10 or 20 or 30 blogs, then try to go again and edit the articles and include your internal links. It's not going to harm you if you are not including your internal links initially, and give it a lot of time, actually maybe 1 year, to see the results. And actually if you are writing more and more content each week, or couple of articles per week, if you will go back and edit and make it a process, Google will actually reward you for editing and improving your content. All right. All right, Dipti. So it's actually based on the search intent. For example, if you are writing an article, let's say on anything, like if you are writing best laptops under 30,000, right? So if you're writing article on that, it will depend on how other people have written that article. So when you are doing the research, go and see all the top ranking pages, maybe read 6 7 8 12 pages, and see what they have written, and what are the things that are working for them. Based on that, you can start writing your own content. Again, I'm not saying that you should copy what they have written, but you can actually copy their format, because it worked for them. Google ranked for them, so copy their structure. Don't actually include the things that they have missed. And writing, how long or short sentence depends on the search intent. Once you will start practicing more and more, that question fades away, and you will understand that how search intent works. And it's totally a question about practicing. Once you have written like 10 or 12 articles, it will come very naturally to you. For now, you can depend on the search intent. All right, Dipti, hope that answers. So yeah. So I don't judge the writing based on the Hemingway, but make your content readable such that even a 5 or 6 year old can read. So if you will use SEO plugins, it will actually give your score on readability also. For example, when I used to write, mine will give sometimes a fine, sometimes it will go with a green button, that is for good. But now, whenever I write content, even if I haven't edited a lot, it will always show the good, which is the highest score. So yoast SEO gives you score for both SEO and readability. So in readability also, the green is the highest score. I can actually suggest you what are the things you need to do. Don't worry about the score, what these plugins or these Hemingway shows. So the thing is that use don't use a lot of passive voices. It's good when you're doing the news and media articles, but it's not very much when you are writing a blog or article. Avoid passive voices. Use a lot of conjunctions, where it connects two sentences like and, because, and use a lot of therefore, hence, anything which connects your one sentence to another, or connects your one story to another. Use shorter sentences. Yoast SEO suggests that you should use a sentence not more than 20 words. You can sometimes, of course, go more than that, but try to keep your sentences shorter whenever possible. Don't write complicated sentences if it can be done in a simple manner. Avoid a lot of fancy words. For example, if there's a smaller version of the same meaning, there's a easier synonyms for the same word. Always carry forward the easy one, because you don't want your readers to think that they are not smart enough. That's why they didn't get that word. So always use shorter sentences. Don't use complicated sentences. Use easier vocabulary, and your score will be high every single time. Hope that answers. See, WordPress actually is a content management system. So if you don't have a website, I mean, if you don't have a domain, it's not going to work. So first you need to buy the domain and then host it. Then you can use this system to publish your content. Again, it's not necessary that you go and buy a domain. There are some ways where you can get a domain for free and even host it for free. But if you are looking for serious blogging, I would recommend that go ahead and buy a clean domain. It's not going to cost a lot, and host it. and then simply install WordPress and start making your content or blogs, whatever you like. Sure, Ashida. Yeah, that's been amazing for me also. Um, a lot of people have been actually asking on the DM that how to do the on-page SEO, or what is WordPress, how do we publish it, and I cannot explain them on the DM because there are so many things to cover, right? So this was a perfect opportunity for whoever people, if they want to learn SEO. And I believe it was the most simplest manner, and all these things were essential if you are able to do these things.